Okay, so hello everyone. We're ready to start. We are 25 right now, but I think that some people are going to join this webinar. So let me just introduce myself very quickly. I am Gianluca Puglisi. I'm a new project manager at Shapes, and we have a lot of projects, and this one is new for me, and I'm very excited to start working with this project because I love the topic of sustainable tourism, and as you can see, I'm a bit nervous, but I'm very looking forward to starting this webinar and to start talk with you about these topics. Right now, there are a lot of people joining, and I'm very happy about it. So today, we're going to have the third webinar of R.I.S.T.o.VET project. And I am going to talk about module 6, which is going to be about soft and practical skills in communications. And the other organization who is going to talk about this module is R.I.S.T.o.VET. But the very first presenter is going to be Fau Ili, in the person of Evelyn Schlenk, who is going to talk about digital tourism. So if you are ready, if you don't have any questions, we can start the discussion together. And I ask you to start sharing your screen if you want, and we will start this webinar.
Thank you very much, Gianluca. Hello, everyone. I'm going to start my presentation. I hope it works smoothly. You should see my presentation right now. If something doesn't work, Gianluca will just tell me and let me know. So hello, my name is Evelyn Schlenk, and I work at the Innovation in Learning Institute at the Friedrich Alexander University in Erlangen-Nuremberg, which is in Germany. I am psychologist in the application field of learning and teaching with new media, and I also have a degree in business administration. I will be very happy to share some highlights from Module 5, Digital Tourism, with you today. Before I start my presentation, I would like to inform you that the project at our institute was led by a colleague until mid-April, who is now on maternity leave. This means that in terms of the specific learning content in this project, I am a learner myself, just as you are, and this will be partly reflected in this presentation, as it shows my approach to the topic in combination with the learning materials developed. But this is also exactly how learning works best. So my recommendation is, if you are going to engage with the content of the e-learning course yourself, I would encourage you to approach the learning content not by reading in a wait and see way, but with your own prior experience and questions in mind. And in this way, you will be able to directly integrate the new information into your own work. Well, and after these opening statements from my perspective as a learning psychologist, I will now introduce you to the contents of learning module number 5. Let's start with a question that you can ask yourself. What is digital tourism about? And what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the term digital tourism? When I asked myself this question while familiarizing myself with the topic, it was after a 2-year corona pandemic, we had extensive travel and contact restriction. And because of this fact, the first thing that came into my mind was, is it about virtual exploration of destinations from home, let's say virtual reality? And in fact, I had made a few tourist motivated trips from home myself on my smartphone. I traveled to different places on Earth via Google Earth, and there you can enter any specific location or you can be taken to a randomly selected place. Another thing I did was to take advantage of the offer of a virtual tour of different premises. With modern technologies, such as a simple 360 degrees camera and the accompanying software, it is very easy nowadays to create a 360-degree panoramic tour. Makes it possible, for example, to explore the interiors, such as hotel rooms, from the inside. And such a tour can be navigated using the mouse and computer keyboard. All over the world, there are lots of museums that have created wonderful virtual tours for their exhibitions. And to move through the exhibition, you can view the objects and can have additional information displayed, such as in the form of text or audio. Okay, what else? You can also use 3D glasses to move through a city. For example, in this way, you can immerse yourself very deeply into the experience of the alternative environment. Another option for a virtual tour for a participant, you can sit comfortably on the sofa at home and be connected to a city guide via a video conference. So, for example, I was able to take part in a city tour of Berlin, our capital city, with my family. The city guide walked live with a camera through the desired quarter in Berlin and explained the different sites. During longer walks, a second staff member in the studio faded in and she provided additional information such as route maps and historical photos. And these were now 3 examples of virtual tours from home. A digitized tourist experience is also possible, however, when one actually physically goes to another place. In several places, visitors can already get interesting additional information by using their smartphone. So the question could be, is digital tourism about visiting real sites with an additional digital layer of information, which is augmented reality or AR? What can augmented reality offer? Let's assume you discover a beautiful castle on your hiking tour through nature and you want to know what the name of the castle is, when it was built, and what history it has. Then you could have the relevant information displayed on your smartphone. Or you are at an archaeological site with ruins from ancient times and would like to get a better idea of how it might have looked back then. There are already various apps for this application, and not only can you see what a settlement might have looked like in the past, but also the Colosseum in Rome, for example. Is that digital tourism? There's no doubt that the examples from virtual reality and augmented reality belong to the field of application of digital tourism. However, they only represent one segment of the entire spectrum of possibilities and areas of application. Digital tourism is not just about the way digital tools can be used to enjoy a travel experience. In fact, much of digital tourism is about the utilization of digital tools to promote, to organize, to manage, and evaluate travel experiences. With this, I would like to welcome you to our Module 5, which is comprehensively about digitization in tourism. The aim of this module is to show you how you can implement digitalization more strongly in your own company in order to remain competitive in the face of the large number of competitors. In this learning module, you will find 3 learning units, each divided into smaller chapters. The individual modules relate to each other, so it is necessary to study them in the right order. In Unit 5.1, this is a learning unit where we will first introduce you to the theoretical framework that you should always keep in mind when implementing digital measures. It is about the theory of digital customer journey. Then, based on the customer journey, you will be introduced to 2 holistic digitalization strategies, each with an example, like influencer marketing and interactive tools. Later in this presentation, I will go into more detail about the digital customer journey. The second learning unit focuses on the integration of information and communication technologies, ICT tools. Actually, this is particularly important for the success of tourism businesses. It can even be said that the utilization of ICTs are a key determinant of organizational competitiveness. The integration of ICT tools allows customer management relations and supply chain management to be combined into a single source that facilitates a variety of operations, which is product selection, ordering, fulfillment, tracking, payment, and reporting. ICTs can be meaningfully integrated into each phase throughout the customer journey. In our learning unit, we clarify the reasonable use of ICTs and also make a thematic excursion to interesting current developments such as booking tools, chatbots, and smart tourism. The third learning unit deals with the digital marketing of one's own tourism offer. First, the structure of one's own content strategy is to be examined in more detail. This is followed by the topic of content creation. And finally, the topic of ratings or reviews from other customers is addressed, which also plays an important role in order to remain competitive. Another highlight will be the smart use of social media. As already mentioned, I would like to go into more detail about the digital customer journey in this presentation. In fact, this concept is not about a digitally supported journey to a tourist site, as I described it at the beginning of my presentation with the virtual tour and augmented reality. No, it is rather a concept from business administration, and it describes the journey of a potential customer through various touch points with a product or service, a brand, or a company. Why do we want to look closely at the different touch points between a company and its offers and the customer? Well, obviously, this is because we want to learn as much as possible about the target groups, about their behavior, their preferences, their reaction to digital advertisement, and their actual use of the offers. The better we know our target group and can tailor our offers to their needs, the more likely the final target action will follow, such as a purchase, a newsletter subscription, or customer inquiry. When conducting a customer journey, the focus is on all phases of the contact. This begins with the customer's first contact with the company's offerings. It continues through the purchase and ends with long-term customer loyalty. The digital customer journey approach extends the classic customer journey to include all possible digital components of information, communication, and interaction. Understanding customers' touch points and pathways throughout the journey allows you, as the travel company, to engage them, the customers, at each stage of the decision-making process. And each phase of contact can be analyzed using the 5 micro moments of experiences. The first micro moment of experience is inspiration. For example, let's imagine a customer. She is sitting at the hairdresser's and flicking through a magazine in which the Italian Amalfi Coast is described as an attractive travel destination with many colorful pictures. The pictures appeal to the client's emotions, and she dreams herself into a beautiful restaurant on the Amalfi Coast under some lemon trees. In other words, she experiences a dreaming moment combined with the longing, I want to get away. This kind of thing happens, of course, not only through media like a magazine, but also when surfing the internet or social media. How could you, as a travel company, intervene in this phase? Your goal could be to say, I want more customers to become aware of my offer. Then you would identify the places and settings your target audience is interested and try to represent those places. How could you inspire the customer? This could be done, for example, through a nice photo album on Facebook, a funny spot on YouTube, a blog, or many other things. You can see on the slides the ICT tools which are useful for this phase. They are just listed here, and they will be explained in more detail in the learning module. The second micro moment of experience is information. Let's imagine that the client comes home after her visit to the hairdresser and is still dreaming of a holiday on the Amalfi Coast. As she did not yet have any concrete holiday plans for the summer, her wish becomes more and more solidified, and she is sure, I want to go there. How does the client proceed now? She might sit down at her PC and search specifically for recommendations and ratings. This puts her in the middle of planning, symbolized by the phrase, time to make a plan. How could you, as a travel company, intervene in this phase? Your goal could be to say, I don't want to lose potential customers to competitors. How can this be done? What are customers looking for? It is recommended that you show the personal side of your company. A clear and emotional website is half the way to success. Easy to find content does the rest, and a customer should consciously become aware of your company when looking for tours and activities at your destination. You can make use and look at the rating portals and ask yourself, how does my offer appear in comparison to my competitors on rating portals? And the ICT tools which are useful in this phase are again listed in this presentation and explained in the learning unit. The third micro moment of experience is planning and booking. Let's go back to our client who would like to travel to the Amalfi Coast. She has gained an initial overview of the offers and has put together a selection of the particularly interesting options. Now the selected options are compared in detail with regard to their conditions and prices. The most attractive offer for the customer's needs is taken up and brought to the booking step, symbolized by the phrase, "Let's book it." And how could you, as a travel company, intervene in this phase? You could check carefully if your offer probably gets enough attention or if it possibly loses potential customers because it is too complicated to go to the booking process. In fact, it is very important to connect the booking process as closely as possible to the offer. For example, through a call to action button such as Book Now. Other tools are explained again in the learning module. The fourth micromoment of experience is experience. In fact, this does not refer to the experience of a booked travel. Instead, it is about the experience of the customer with you as a travel agency. And at this point, it is about booking and how easy or complicated the booking process is. For example, our customer has now chosen a coach operator to go on a 10-day trip to Italy to the Amalfi Coast. The booking process should be simple and make her want to go on the trip. She should have the feeling, "I can't wait to explore." How could you, as a travel company, intervene in this phase? You should make the booking process as convenient as possible so that your customer becomes a regular customer. What is the top maxim here? That is service, service, service. Provide your customer with excellent service throughout the entire contact with you and your travel agency before, during, and after a travel experience. This is because your customers will always rate you on a public basis. If your service is excellent and exceeds the customer's expectations, you can expect the customer to become a regular customer. The fourth micro moment of experience is follow up and sharing. This is where the customer journey comes to a full circle. What one person sees as a follow up to their own journey, another person sees as inspiration for the next journey. So let's go to our customer one last time. She had a fantastic trip to the Amalfi Coast on her summer holiday with the bus company. She will definitely share her experiences with family, friends, acquaintances, or even the whole public. Sharing moments might be, "I want to share my experiences." And how could you, as a travel company, intervene in this phase? Well, you should be aware that nothing is more effective than good word of mouth from satisfied customers. Again, here are some ICT tools which will be explained in the learning module. And following these explanations on the micro moments of experience, I would like to present to you the method of storytelling in more detail. And this method can be used very well in the micro moment number 1, which is the inspiration phase. And as you may know, storytelling is an integral part to any marketing campaign, and it is a very effective way to connect customers emotionally during their journey. It gives one's brand the opportunity to develop trust with the customers and increase the conversion rate. Stories provide an episodic structure that shapes the experience. They build loyalty and persuade the customer to consume. Okay, and before we run out of time, I would like to get active with you. In this presentation, I have included a YouTube video, which unfortunately does not play when I click on play. So I would ask you to go on this YouTube site I will copy and paste the link into the chat window. It is a 2 minutes video, and after those 2 minutes, I would come back and discuss with you your experience. Okay, I'm not sure if you have finished, but I think you have seen enough. So it would be nice to come back to me right now. I would have liked to do a short reflection of the video with you together now, but I realized that we are running a bit out of time. So what I would like to do now is you can ask yourself what thoughts and feelings the video triggered in you, and what do you think, what techniques the video uses to trigger your thoughts and feelings and emotions. And this is a part of the e-learning material as well, where you can reflect about this power of storytelling and how pictures and music and details in these pictures are used to build up an emotional connection to the customer. And to give time to the other presenters today, I want to conclude with my closing remarks, and which is storytelling should accompany a customer throughout their journey, from the point of searching for information on the website, through the experience until the leaving of a review. And it makes the journey from the first initial contact to purchase to post-purchase a true experience. So you have to tell something which is authentic. And the process is characterized by the use of a wide variety of channels. And well, if you read through the module and see the thousands of ICT tools and possibilities and strategies, you might probably ask, who does everyone have to do everything? Fortunately, the answer is consider where your strengths as a company lie and where you can achieve most success. And then the answer is no, you do not have to do everything, but what you do should be done well. With that, thank you very much for your attention. I give back to Gianluca.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Evelyn, for this presentation. It was super interesting. And your last topic, the storytelling, is actually a perfect link for the next one because we're going to talk about communication in touristic sector and also in everyday life. So I think that yeah, the how you communicate your feeling, your experience can represent a big difference.
Yes, it's
Yes,
perfect.
perfect. Okay, as always, things like this happen in live events, so it's okay. But Evelyn, your presentation was amazing. I want to visit Japan, so you sold it perfectly to me. It was amazing, and it was a very nice pass for our next modules, which is module 6.2, multilingualism promotion, and 6.3, which is customer service, that you actually pointed out how important it really, really is in the tourism industry. So let's start. In our multilingualism promotion module, we have the introduction to the concept of multilingualism and its linkage to the tourism industry. We investigate in our training path that we created the linguistic competencies, the intercultural communication, and their relationship with tourism industry and their importance in the environment of a tourism company. I want you to consider something. There are 7,000 languages in the world in about 200 independent countries. So that means that there are more languages than countries, and there are many, many speakers that speak different languages, and they are unevenly distributed, which means that smaller languages need to be spoken by people who need to speak other languages in their daily life. That means that multilingualism is a very common phenomenon in all over the world. And the European Commission says that the ability of societies, institutions, groups, and individuals to engage on a regular basis with more than one language in their day-to-day life gives the meaning of multilingualism. Think about it as what we do right now. We are individuals that live in different countries around the world, and we come here together today and we try to communicate in a language that in most of the times it's not our native language. So what is linguistic competence? This refers to the expression and the interpretation of concepts, thoughts, feelings, facts, and opinions in order to be able to communicate orally or in written. It is highly related to communication competencies, and sometimes they are even seen as equal. It is an ability, a skill that is present in any form of tourism activity, and it is present in every discipline of the economic activity. So linguistic competencies tend to be wide, transversal, multi-purpose, and basic for all individuals, and they are also inherent to every culture and discipline. So, intercultural communication generally refers to interpersonal communication between individuals or groups who are affiliated with different cultural groups and or have been socialized in different cultural and in most cases linguistic environments. This includes such cultural differences as age, class, gender, ethnicity, language, race, nationality, and physical and mental ability. So pretty much, as you can understand, having the skills that relate to intercultural communication are crucial when we talk about the tourism industry and when we talk about our communication in general. So the communication can have two forms. Of course, we have the verbal communication, where the exchange of ideas, thoughts, feelings, and opinions and experiences happen through spoken or written words, pretty much what we do now. And we have the nonverbal communication, which is the exchange of all the above, plus with our emotions and with our feelings and attitudes through sign language, and here we mean by sign language the charts, the photos, the pictures, and the symbols, and body language, our facial expressions, our eye contact, the head and hand and leg movements that we use, our posture, our physical appearance, and the space around us. Body movements are culturally specific symbols, and they're always based on a specific communication context. In our training path, in our material that we have created, there is an annex in module 6 that we have some symbols. And of course, I'm not going to show them here because I want you to take part and I want you to check our modules, where you can see what body movements mean in some countries and what does it mean in some other country. So why communication is important? I want you to take a look in this graph. So we have a cultural context, we have the microcultural context, and then we have two people. The first one, the first person, he has a perceptual context of what he wants to communicate to the perceptual context of another person. And those two people, they use a verbal code and a non-verbal code in a social relationship context, and they try to communicate and express their thoughts and their feelings in an endless circle, because communication is an endless circle. So what are the 4 essential steps that can create multilingual promotion strategy in tourism? First of all, in our material, we have some key points that we always want people to have in mind, and especially the professionals that might be interested in our material. So we give them some tips that are quite important. So you have to develop a compelling core message. You have to translate and localize this message. You have to create content management for a multilingual content marketing strategy, which is very, very important. And you have to use multi-channel integrated communication strategy. So pretty much what you have to do if you want to consider yourself a multilingual company that has in mind the ability to communicate with various customers is that you should convey your message to reach your audience and engage with them is best done across multiple channels and with an integrated communication strategy that includes paid ads. But more on that you can find in our material. So why multilingualism is important in tourism sector. Tourism is an economic sector in which communication with representatives of different countries and different cultures take place nearly constantly, and often in a form of challenge that requires knowledge and effort. Because communication, let's face it, it's not an easy part. So except from the great economic significance of the tourism sector, it is also meaningful exchange of local cultural knowledge between individuals. As we discussed in previous webinars, and what we pinpoint is that through tourism, we have the opportunity and the ability to exchange our cultures with others. Of course, there are many, many benefits for the company itself if their employee is able to communicate with many people. But I want all of you to keep in mind, apart from all this that you can see in our material, I want you to keep in mind the last sentence, which in a nutshell has all the meaning about how important communication is. So it says that language learning broadens minds, opens up new horizons, and facilitates understanding between people in any situation. So if we have this in mind, we're halfway there. So how we can achieve effective intercultural communication? We need to have some specific skills. We need to have tolerance of ambiguity. We need to have behavioral flexibility. We need to have knowledge discovery, communicative awareness, respect for others, and of course, we need to have empathy. We have explanations for everything in our material, so this is just a few keywords that you should keep in mind. As a final general remark about multilingual promotion module is that employees in the hospitality and tourism industry may represent multiple nationalities, cultures, religious affiliation, lifestyle preferences, values, and beliefs, and at the same time, they have to communicate with different nationalities, cultures, etc. So it is very, very important for future managers and employees to understand the benefits of diversity training as they prepare to manage or work in a diverse workforce. And this is part of what we try to do in our R.I.S.T.o.VET project. So this was the part one about multilingual promotion, and we have the customer service. And of course, we saw through Evelina's presentation that customer service is very, very important. Even if we are a big company, we should always try to have our customers in mind. So let's see a few things. I won't bore you, hopefully, and I will finish in under 5 minutes, I promise. The last decade, services become more important as customers spend a higher proportion of their available income on services such as educational, recreational, and of course, the tourist services. So in this module, we have an introduction to the customer service concept, and we try to investigate the definition of the term. We pinpoint the skills and the techniques needed, and we have in mind that we want to broaden the theoretical and the practical background of the students in the field of customer service. But let's see for a minute what the Institute of Customer Service has to say about customer service in general. They prefer to stress the importance of customer expectations and satisfaction in their definition, calling customer service the sum total of what an organization does to meet customer expectation and produce customer satisfaction. So it's pretty much what we do, how well we do it in order to meet expectations, in order to satisfy our customers. And for tourism, since it is a people-oriented industry, an effective customer service is essential for survival and for growth, and the employees in the tourism industry may be easily classified as frontline service workers. If you take a look at that graph, it is explained widely in our module, but bottom line here is that customer service, the organizational culture of a company, and the community culture are all correlated. And the bottom line is that if you have a personnel, if your staff are happy within your company, then this is a very, very nice way, and it's a great strategic way to support customer service and ultimately to bring more profit. Because as you can see, it is all just a big circle that affects everything. Another thing that you will see in our customer service module is the classification of travelers and tourism. I'm not going to go through the vast detail here, but I'm going to say that what we want to look is which is the primary purpose of the travel, whether it's business or pleasure or something in between. If the travelers are international or domestic, and what type of travelers we have. Some skills and techniques needed in order to provide good customer service. We need verbal communication skills, as we mentioned in our previous module. We also need non-verbal communication skills, because you should know that the vast majority of the message that we want to convey to the other part is done through our non-verbal communication skills. So it's quite important. And of course, when we deal with customers, our ability to actively listen to them is crucial. So how can we strengthen the customer communication? Just a few key points here, and the rest is in our module in a greater detail. We should gather information, we should be consistent, and we should demonstrate openness and be responsible, and also be personable. Some characterizers of good customer service. People that deal with customer service should be friendly, should be attentive, should be speedy. They should be sincere. They should try to meet the needs of the customer every time. They should try to exceed the customer needs, to give a little bit more of what they want and what they ask, to be patient, of course, to be helpful, to have the customer enjoy the experience, which is very, very important, to be concerned about the needs and wants and even demands of the customer. They have to try to make the customer happy in order for them to return. They have to be efficient. They have to make the customer feel good, and they should be helpful. So some guidelines for successful management of expectations, in greater detail, of course, as I said, is in our module, but we have 8 key points. You should focus, not get blurred about anything that you hear or fear. You should segment by expectation than needs. You should rank your customers in a segment by their value. You should stick with a segment you know best and can serve most effectively. You should fill the gap between customers' expectations and competitors' offering. This is very, very important. You should train and develop employees to share common value. You should manage expectation and not always meet them. And under promise and over delivery to create a customer franchise. And of course, we should always have the quality service in our mind. So we give some dimensions about the quality. We have reliability, responsiveness, assurance. We should have the tangibles, and we should have the empathy. So this was the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. Hope I didn't bore you very much. And hopefully you will have the inspiration to check out our modules. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now there's a little bit of magic, as you can see, because me and Alessia have switched our PCs. But now I think we will be able to, start our presentation, which is very. I mean, it can be the natural prosecution for what Nancy just said, because we are going to talk about communication. In particular, we're going to talk about soft and practical skills in communication, because you know that communication is very much needed in tourism and professional life, but most of all in everyday life. And we're going to see that there are many forms of communication, as we already saw with Nancy's presentation. So formal, non-formal, verbal, non-verbal, and how these kinds of communication are used in various situations. So I'm gonna try to be very concise, which is also one of the topics of this presentation. So one of the best skill that a communicator should have is to be concise. And first of all, I would like to share with you this link in which you can fill a form and you can answer to a simple question, which is what is communication to you? But just wait a second, and I'm trying to copy. Yeah, this should be the link. So you will be When you want, you can just answer to this question, and maybe in the final part of this webinar, which is going to be in 5 or 10 minutes, we can have a small Q&A section, and we can talk about this this question. Just let me paste the link. It's okay. So feel free to answer this question if you want. But let's go back to the presentation. So why communicative competencies are so relevant? As I said, they're very useful in everyday life. For example, in romance, in relationships, in friendship. And we divide two kinds of communication and of relationships, which are the weak links, the weak relationships, and the strong relationships. I mean, the strong links are the ones that when we connect with people that we love, people we share time together. For example, our colleagues, we spend a lot of time with them. But there are also some weak links which are very important in everyday life to to form ourselves as persons. How many types of communication do we have? We have 4 types of communication, which are the verbal one, the non-verbal, the visual, and the written form of communication. The verbal form, here you have these tips that you can follow to have a proper communication with other people. For example, in the verbal communication, the tip could be to use a strong and confident tone of voice. Or another important tip is to listen to the other person, because as we're going to see, communication is a binary process. So when you communicate something, the recipient, so the other person, has to decode your message, to interpret it, and to encode it again. So it's very important to listen carefully what the other people have to say to us, and not just to have a monologue. Or for non-verbal communication, one very important tip should be to feel our emotions, because sometimes when we speak to other people, we just don't realize how our emotions are expressed. So even if we have to say something very simple, maybe our message can be misunderstood just by the way we say it. And as for the visual and the written communication, the main tip is always to be simple, not to I mean to say more than the message we want to share, and also for the visual to be clear. The message must be seen in a very easy way. Yeah, there are a lot of suggestions, but I think that we can skip some of them. As I said, it's very important to be a good listener, to become a good communicator, to be concise, as I hope I am being right now. Body language is very important, because we Italians know it very well, but sometimes if you want to give a message and to communicate something, words can't be enough, you know. So using the correct hand gestures and the correct tone of voice, as I said, can be very, very important. Being confident, being open-minded. Yeah, of course, because not every message and every communication is easy. When we talk to other people and we disagree with their message, we need to be open-minded and to respect their point of view, even if we don't really agree. Because this kind of communication can be useful to ourselves to grow, to change our mind, and to elaborate again another a new message and a new idea. And the last one is to use the right medium, because some kinds of communication can be shared just speaking or writing an email, but it depends on the context. So using the right medium, it's very important to pass our messages properly. As I said before, the starting point for communication is in the brain. It's in the cognitive system. So some philosophers say that our thoughts are a language, because when we think about something, we are basically communicating to ourselves. And this is how communication works. There are two phases, which are encoding and decoding a message. Encoding means to transmit a concept or a thought to another individual, and the other individual must translate it into its own scheme, which is made of different symbols of a culture that can be different. And the recipient must decode the message, translating and interpreting it. Yeah, this is an image that can maybe make you understand what I'm trying to say. As the non-verbal communication, yeah, we have linked this particular the facial expressions, the gesture, and the proximity are very important. The facial expressions, as I said, can make people understand if you're happy, depressed, angry. And so you have to be mindful and be aware of your facial expressions. And it's also easy to forget, as it says. The gestures and the proximity, because in the face-to-face communication, it's important also to keep special distance between us and the recipient, because some people can be offended by the distance, or can be cannot pay the right attention to what we're trying to say if we are too close to them, or if we don't respect their social spaces. As for the touch is the same. Non-verbal signals such as shaking your hands or placing our hands in the back of other people can influence the success of our speech. Yes, it can influence in a positive way, but also in a negative way. So we have to be aware of who we're talking to. The eye contact is very important if we want to transmit a message. And yeah, the appearance. Yeah, we can say that the form is as important as the substance. So we need to be aware of the context and to adapt ourselves to that. How to become a good communicator? Reciprocity. What does it mean? It means that if we're having a conversation, I should be talking the 50% of the time, and you should do the same, because in a lot of dialogues, just one of the communicators is the main speaker, and the other is just a listener, but it is actually a passive listener. First person formulation can be useful, so you should try to use as many I sentences as you can, and feedbacks. Feedback, of course, it is very important. So I'm going to ask you to give us feedbacks about our presentations to close this webinar. So if you want, feel free to make some question to me or to Evelyn or to Nancy. So feel free. And maybe if you want, we can also check if someone has responded to the questionnaire, and we can see all together what communication is for every one of you. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I think we can also end the webinar. I have just to send you a final questionnaire, so all the participants of the webinar can just answer to some question about this webinar. It is very short. It takes like 3 minutes, and this will be very important for all of us. So just let me send you. Okay, it is done. It was a pleasure for me to meet you, all of you, for the first time, and I'm very happy about how the webinar has gone. So thank you very much. And okay, here's Alessia. We can close the meeting. Thank you. Bye bye.